Good morning to everybody who is listening to us and tuning in. Thanks for giving us some of your time today. We're here in Southern California, broadcasting worldwide through our Facebook page. Our guest today is an incredible vocalist, recipient of OC Living Jazz Legend Award, jazz vocalist, and our jazz vocal coach here at our school, Mrs. Elena Gilliam. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Hi.
How have you been?
Oh, I've been doing okay. I've been doing okay. You know, life keeps marching on no matter what's happening, COVID-19
Yeah.
or whatever. So we're adjusting and I'm doing okay. Just trying to keep some music happening.
Yeah.
And
So the idea behind this project was to go directly to our potential and inspiring students and sort of just talk about what is involved in the vocal jazz education process. But before we get to these questions, the specifics, so to speak, I just wanted everybody to learn first about you, your background, where you come from.
sure,
And, can you talk about that for us?
I guess I can. So I'm from the East Coast. I'm a Jersey girl, which means don't mess with me. But I grew up in New Jersey, and I actually went to college in Pennsylvania, and I wound up living in Pennsylvania for a few years after I finished taking classes. I didn't graduate, but I did a few years, and believe it or not, my major, I was a foreign language major, so Spanish was my major, and I just loved languages. At that time, I'm a late bloomer in every respect of the word. So at that time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew sort of that I liked to sing, and it was like a secret I kept to myself. I guess that's what you do with a secret, is you keep it to yourself. But I went to school thinking I would actually like to be a high school counselor. And they told me, well, you have to teach something in order to be a high school counselor first, in those days. So I picked languages because I love different languages. I love the sound of them. I love trying to speak it. I'm not a true expert by any means now, but Spanish was my first language. I took many years of French, which I loved tremendously. However, I wish I could speak it now because I can't. I could just make up the accent. But I was on that trail, and then my brother lived out here in California. So he talked me into moving to California because I couldn't stand the freezing cold in Erie, Pennsylvania. And believe me, it's freezing. Snow up to your thighs in the winter, and that was, I got a little tired of that. So I moved out here to California, and I got a job at UC Irvine. I was lucky, stepped right into a job because obviously I needed work, and I worked there, wound up working there for 30 years. So that turned out to be quite a little venture for me. I tell people I grew up on the UCI campus, and I really did. So here I was in my early 20s, and I had this job, and I just kept working, and I had different positions as I went along over the 30 years, but I always enjoyed singing. And while I was at UCI, I decided to take some nighttime classes with the Orange Coast College Big Band. And that's how I became introduced to the big band and to music. And the first time I went to hear the big band play, you could go in, you could sign up for a big band class with Dr. Charles Rutherford, he was really my first mentor in music. And you could sign up as a vocalist and sing along with the group. And at that time, in the big band, we had Doug Webb. We had many other performers. They're going to be mad at me that I didn't mention their names, but musicians that I still know today. Mara Cusick Osland, she was in the saxophone section, and we became good friends. And she was Doc Rutherford's partner for many, many years. But through the big band, I got to perform in concerts. And the first time I actually sat in the big band room was a thrill of my lifetime. It was amazing because I loved big band music. I loved listening to it. Now, all I knew about it was from listening to it on TV and growing up, my parents, they were into music, but they weren't seriously into music. So I didn't have that much of an influence in terms of what I got at home. But I knew I loved it. I watched late night shows. I looked at all of the late night shows, and I loved Playboy After Dark. I don't know, you're probably too young to remember that show, but they would have a party in a penthouse, the Playboy penthouse. All the stars were there, all the vocalists were there, Ella Fitzgerald, Sammy Davis. I still remember them coming in. And they just come in for the party, have a cocktail, and start singing, sing a song for us. So I thought, that's the life right there. So I had that little dream in the back of my head. But then when I came to California, I thought, this is my time to experiment with it. And that's why I got into the big band. And then I got into pop vocal classes at Orange Coast College, which were fantastic. I thought I'd stepped out of a dream. Wow, this is great. You go to a class, you get to perform, and they had a setup of an auditorium, a mini auditorium, and you sang your song, you got to practice. Don French at the time was the accompanist for the class with Charlie Clark. And he did a lot of, boy, he could play anything. And that was years ago. He was an amazing pianist. So you got to practice your song once, come back and sing it again. That's actually one of the vocal programs that I do now is I could get a group together, we can practice vocals, and I can give you some tips on how to improve your performance, because for me, the performance is everything. The performance makes the song. The performance is all about you. It's how you express yourself. It's how you get that message across about what this song is. So I did that, and along the way, I met my husband. I met him actually at a big band concert. That particular day for the concert, he was playing guitar, George Gilliam. And he came up to me afterwards and said, well, are you singing with anybody? And I said, no, what did I know? I was singing with the band, and he was starting a band. So he asked if I'd be interested, and eventually came around. We were in the same group at first. After that, we decided to move on to just jazz. So in our group, it was called Sure Thing. It was with Bert Sure, who was a drummer. And we did a mixture of pop, jazz, and, smooth, like Sade, and we did the Billie Holiday, Good Morning Heartache. So we did a mixture thinking, this is perfect right now. Now that was early 80s or mid 80s. So we're looking at turning things around, and we did that for a time. But my husband and I have been focused on jazz for many, many years, about the last 35 years. So we worked throughout the county doing jazz, and I've been doing some teaching here and there. And
I wanted to interject something. First of all, I should have said this right off the bat. For anybody interested in your extensive portfolio, they can navigate to elenagilliam.com.
Correct.
Which is your website, which is, I checked it out this morning. I mean, it's an incredible resource. You have videos, biography, music gallery, everything that an artist
thank you.
have. So our audience members and any potential students can check that out.
Check me out.
What caught my attention in your story, first of all, you were working professional.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I admire that. And the reason for that is because you that first initial step of saying you have this energy coming out of you, right? You want to sing, you're hearing it, you're walking around, it's all like vibrating in your
Yeah.
being.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, so what do I have to do? And then you're like, take a class. And then you that first initial step, right? Of to
That's
me,
it.
that's every time we have adult students, as you know,
Hmm.
and when they show up to, I just stand and I just say, wow, you are so courageous
Really?
to leave all these inhibitions, all this vulnerability, and yet to say, I'm gonna go and take a jazz combo class.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
scary.
It is scary. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, when I found out about the big band, actually, I think I took the pop vocal class first,
Mhm.
and a couple of the other students in the class told me about the big band, and then I signed up for the big band class. I thought, it can't be this easy to sign up with a big band class
Uh-huh.
and be able to sing in concerts, but I was just stunned. So, and Doc Rutherford, he really inspired me, and he was such a great musician too, which I learned as I went.
Mhm.
But it was just a lot of fun and an amazing experience to be able to, that was right there in Costa Mesa, Little Orange
Mhm.
Coast College. So before I had the pop vocal, I took voice one.
Mhm.
And that was me jumping off of the diving board. And
Mhm.
I don't swim. So that gives you an idea of how
Very courageous.
scared I
You're
was.
very courageous.
It gives you an idea. The first song that I had to sing, that I sung in front of everybody, was Who Can I Turn To? Because I love Who Can I Turn To? Who can I turn to when nobody needs me? Well, I still remember my knees shaking. I thought, my God, I hope nobody's looking at my knees because
Mhm.
I want you to pay attention to me. But I got through it and it was a fantastic experience. Just voice
Mhm.
one. And after that, I just stuck with the pop vocal and I tried to here and there take some voice lessons from a couple of people that I met and knew. So here and there, I took lessons. And then I met someone who no longer lives in the county. Her name was
Mhm.
Carol Stone, and she was a wonderful voice teacher. Um, so I had a few lessons from her. People with a wonderful spirit just help me the most because they love what they do and they want you to be better. I've known a lot of vocal teachers. I've met a lot of vocal coaches, and those that actually get you and want you to be better, even better than them,
Mhm.
those are the ones that have the best spirit about them because they don't care about themselves. They just care about how you come out of this learning curve because there's so much you could learn. So
What's
much.
What's interesting is, and we have a comment here for me to turn up, so hopefully I just adjusted the setting a little bit. Um, what's amazing to me is back then, I mean, considering what we have now with YouTube,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
Zoom lessons from
Yes.
everywhere, um, including our school, is back then, like you join a class, like that was an obvious choice, right? You found this program,
Mm-hmm.
signed up, showed up, which I'm
Yeah.
still, to me, that's like the biggest step anybody can take, is that the drive from your home
Yeah.
and like thinking what's going to happen. um, you showed up, you took the classes, and like how do you, and for vocalists, I'm just curious, like what were the tools available to you as an aspiring jazz vocalist at the time? Like what would you do in your routine of preparation, or
Yeah.
how do you prepare for a class?
Most of what I did was you pick a song the pop vocalist especially, you just pick a song and you learn the song. I learned songs from whoever was singing it at the time. I loved Melissa Manchester early on. Midnight Blue was a big, big hit at the time. And I just loved her voice. And I found that I could sing within her range because I also loved a lot of other vocalists, but they had higher pitched voices like Barbara Streisand and, oh my God, even some of the jazz vocalists like Ella Fitzgerald, you know, they had a higher tone. So it wasn't that easy for me to sing it. So I kind of caught Melissa Manchester and I picked a couple of her songs to work on in the class. So you learn the song and you listen to her, and that was an issue. And then you go to a music store, you find the sheet music because the accompanist in the class needs the sheet music. And you can't just get it online now. You can just get it online, but you couldn't then. So you go buy the sheet music, and we had great music shops. There was a great one in Costa Mesa. There was another one in Santa Ana. So, oh yeah, you got to go there and get your music. They have a great selection. So that was always the case. And you couldn't always find the song you wanted, but you were actually limited to, you know, they only printed so many songs. You know, you had to actually, at the time, I think you had to have a certain number of plays in order for them to produce the music to sell in the stores. At any rate, you were a little bit limited, but you could still find a lot of stuff. Like you find the sheet music and then you try to practice it. Now, I didn't read music. I did have a little piano as a kid, but I was terrible at practicing. I admit it. I wish I'd have practiced. Now I wish I'd have practiced. But I could read some of the chords. I didn't sight read. I didn't do any of that, but I could get the basic idea of how the song went. And, oh, I know this is going to be a high note. So a lot of us in the class, too, did the same thing. We're like, oh, I think this is too high for me. Oh, no, this is too low. Well, let's find out. And then you sing the song and the accompanist would play it. And then you could figure out if you had to change the key, and then the accompanist would change the key for you, or Charlie Clark, he would say, okay, I think we need to change that key. Let's do this. And he would immediately change it for you. Now, he would try to work it out on your sheet music, but that was your practice, your sheet music. And we would record ourselves in the class, go home, practice it, and then the following week you'd come back and sing it, and hopefully it would be a whole lot better than the first time that you sang it. So a terrific experience, but that was basically all we had to use. It is amazing now. Now I can go on YouTube, pull up a song, pull a song up in a certain key, practice with some real book charts. If you type in, oh my God, Autumn Leaves in A, you can find many background tracks and sing along with the background tracks. So now, even in my teaching, I will tell students, you pick out a song, you can find a background track. There are many available, karaoke, background, whatever. There are many available now, so many. Sing along with it, and that is your practice. That is your rehearsal. And then I have them sing it, and I try to take them through the song and just guide them with how I think they might want to interpret what they're singing. But we had very little available. And then if you could afford to have a private lesson with the pianist, which I could hardly ever do, but if you could, it was great too, because you could, to get that one-on-one for a half hour or an hour, that was really fantastic.
You mentioned early on your work in the class of Dr. Charles Rutherford.
Right.
And also many other educators along the way. Tell me about a moment when sort of now you made the first step, you were in this environment, you're learning, picking out tunes at the shop, practicing. And then when did you get that first aha moment, when you realized that, I think I got it, like this makes sense, have you had an experience like that?
Well, yeah, and that was actually singing with the big band at a concert. Um, Going out there for the first time, and it was an evening concert. The lights were low, the Moore Theater over there at Orange Coast College, and I did Good Morning Heartache. That they only had a few vocal charts at that time.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you just had to kind of fit into whatever
Hmm.
the chart was. But that was a vocal chart they had, so that was like everybody had their song. So that was my song at the time. So I did that, and I can't express the thrill of having that big light on you on the stage and with a big band. Oh my God, that's an amazing thing by itself. I mean, I would still, it's one of my dreams right now is to get a couple of charts for working with an ensemble, a big band, and I would love to do that now even. So that was the moment though. And then as I took the pop vocal classes, even in the class, we did set the whole scene when it was time to sing your song for the second time. Lights were low, we're in the class, there's you and the piano, and you just go for it. And there's nothing to me like the thrill of singing a song with an accompanist and sharing it with everybody in the room, and to have people listen to you because you're telling that story, and if they get it, if they don't get it, but when they get it, it's just magical. It's wonderful. It's
Wonder
wonderful.
back then probably, because I've done a few of these uh, so sort of like college curated concerts,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a hit or miss with classical or jazz. Like sometimes you would get like some people show up, others don't show up. What was it
Right.
like during that time for student concerts? Was there a lot of people in attendance?
Actually, from what I remember, there were, because it was a community entertainment. It was a community entertainment evening.
Hmm.
So at that time, there was a group of I want to call them civilians, wonderful women who created a jazz society,
Hmm.
and they actually helped a great deal with selling tickets, getting the word out, doing flyers. They would sit at the table and they would um, take the tickets at the events. So they did a lot of that work, and they actually inspired. They and Charles Rutherford, and I'm sure a couple of other professors there. Alan Remington was there at the time too. They inspired the jazz festival at the Hyatt Newporter. We were in the first couple of jazz festivals when they first began. So thanks to them, it really helped the community get involved and the community to know what was happening. So they just had this long mailing list. And every time there was a performance, they would let people know. So evening performances they're pretty well attended from what I remember. And that was a thrill too, because that was my first chance to be in front of a big audience.
So, looking back at that time, and for instance, your outreach project, Young Lions of Jazz,
Mm-hmm.
how do you sort of take all of that wisdom that you have received from your mentors, and how do you position your own educational outreach programs? Because I believe you and I met, our second meeting was actually at one of those jam sessions, Young Lions of Jazz
Oh,
in Fullerton.
was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is the idea behind that?
Young Lions. I love the idea of younger people getting involved with jazz. And for me, that's part of who we are, is what we need to share with the younger generation. And when I see younger generation get involved, learn their instruments so well, I had an opportunity to meet some amazing younger performers, and I think, my God, it took me years to get to this point. Who are you, and when did you start? Were you 3 when you started playing your instrument or singing? Or they amaze me. So I thought, well, why not have a showcase format for them? Because what we want to do ultimately is perform. And if we don't have a platform to perform, that, it kind of makes it more difficult to even feel inspired enough to keep going. So part of my intent was to give them a platform to perform. So once a year, I try to do something. This year, not much is happening because of our current situation. However, I'm hoping next year we'll be able to put something in place and have a concert and invite some of the younger players.
Yeah.
And you know what? To be a young lion, you can be somebody my age who's just able to get into playing what you're playing. Maybe you worked for 40 years and now this is what you want to do. I have a couple of students like that, voice students like that,
Mm-hmm.
who are, this is what I want to do now. So, help me figure it out.
I like that very much. It's not age
No, no,
specific. It
no,
opens
not
a
at
lot
all.
of doors. Yeah, I was really amazed by that outreach, and that I think it helps exactly the moment what we were talking about, when somebody needs to make the first step from
Yeah,
their bedroom on
yeah,
stage and
yeah,
feel welcomed, and
yeah. And, hey, learn how to do everything from how do I walk in the door at a gig? One that I did last year, just in downtown Fullerton. I think maybe you were there. A couple kids walked in and they were in another program. They're in RETMO, Reaching Youth Through uh, music performances. RETMO is a great organization, and it reminds me, I need to call them. But they're a fantastic organization, and they are trying to provide platforms as well as doing a lot of teaching of jazz and other music forms. But they asked me if I could have a couple of their students, and they came, and one guy had his bass strapped on as he walked in the door, and I said, okay, I guess these guys are here. So they don't know anything about walking in. So it's basics. This is how you come into a gig. This is the stage area. Come and talk to me. Find out who's in charge. So it's basic 1, 2, 3. And I love that kind of stuff, because you can't just assume that you know what you're doing as soon as you walk in the door. Like you said, it's scary.
mm-hmm.
And even if you're like me, so a lot of times I just pretend to be cool. So I know when somebody's pretending to be cool. And so I'll go up to them and go, okay, let me help you out here. Have you met so-and-so? Do you know who the engineer is? Do you know, okay, this is what we're going to do. Here's the format.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. This is where you come in. I want you to put your instrument away. Don't want you to come up here and mingle with everybody. Just real basic information. So I love doing that. But I also just love organizing an event. I did a lot of event organizing when I worked at UC Irvine. That was part in my last 15 years or so. That was a lot of what we did. We did events, and we had to put on all kinds of events. So I enjoyed that. And again, I just like helping the young lions, because they don't know. And if the sooner they know, the better off they'll be with trying to find a gig, trying to get a gig. Part of what we wanted to do too were some workshops exactly about that.
Mhm.
Let's talk about how to get a gig here. Let's talk about live music. Let's talk about what you're doing on YouTube. You know, get some other experts involved and help them find their way so we can keep jazz alive.
Let me ask you, as this, so we have, by the way, you just have somebody gave you a shout out. Sandra Booker says hi because
Hey,
we're going
Sandra!
live on
Sandra
on
Booker,
Facebook.
great singer, great singer. Hey, Sandra, thank you. Thank you. Oh, she's a great entertainer. She is, and that's what I like to consider myself, an entertainer. I like to have fun. She's bad, boy. This girl is. She's a bad girl. Bad as in good.
Yeah,
I don't use that anymore now. What do they use now?
have to
I
be
don't know.
careful.
Whatever. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to be careful. She's a very good, prominent entertainer.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I
Hi,
wanted to,
Sandra.
I don't want to take away the discussion too much into sort of, I want to keep it in the education realm, but I
Sure.
do have to mention that you have recently put out a CD with Michael Levine and some
Yes.
incredible musicians. I mean, I have it in my phone, yeah, and every time I get in a car, it just starts playing. That's
Oh, I'm
some
glad you.
of the tasty, beautiful arrangements. How
Yeah.
before we sort of go into deep into jazz vocal education, how did this project came to be?
Well, um, as I said, I worked with my husband for many years,
Mhm.
and he developed an organization, a nonprofit organization, um, arts based, called Creative Identity. I named it. Yes, thank you. And it's 25 years. I can't believe it. It's been in business 25 years. It's a nonprofit developed
Mhm.
specifically for developmental adults um, who have a desire in music and art, and they want to learn how to express that. And it's a day program, what they call a day program,
Mhm.
primarily funded by the state. But my husband founded the program, and as I said, it's been in business for the last 25 years. He became very busy this past 10 years, especially. He became very busy because the two of us were working together in music. We still are working together in music, and I'm happy to say we've been doing a few things together. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I had retired from UC Irvine, and I had a little bit more time to devote to singing, which is what I wanted to do. So he said, well, you know, I got one gig at a little place called Bricks at the Shore in Long Beach, and it was right on 2nd Street. And he worked with me initially when I got into Bricks. I talked to the owner, who was a super guy. Rick is his name. And he allowed us to come in and do our gig. You know, he paid us for our gig. And my husband said, I'll do this with you until you can find someone to take over. So he didn't make any money. He just said, I'll hang with you. And I worked with, we had a third person. So we had a bass player, we tried a bassist, and a pianist. Well, guess one of the pianists we tried was Michael Levine. And my husband, who I trusted him for his judgment because, you know, he knew music. He's been playing since he was 13. So he knew a lot about music. I've learned the majority of what I know about gigging and performances from him. He has an amazing spirit about him. It's like a natural knowing, a natural knowing, let's call it that. At any rate, I started working with Michael, and Michael and I hit it off really well. We meshed very well. Michael was looking for more work at the time. And my husband said to me, you know what, I think you can work with this guy. And that was it. And we started working together more and more. and he could fade away and work on creative identity and continue that work. Although he still has his foot in it, he still kept working in LA once a week. He had his trio up in LA right up until the COVID hit us this past, and anyway, another story. That was 9-10 years that he was up there. So I started working with Michael, and as Michael and I worked more and more together, he talked about doing a CD. He wanted to do a CD with me, and I wanted to do a CD. So he found an executive producer, and he got the arrangements together for the music. And he and I got the musicians, but he had been working with David Enos and John Ferraro for many years. And he had been doing work with them. He has CDs with them himself. He has a wonderful CD that's all original compositions. And you'll talk to him. I think you're talking to him at the end of the month too, so you'll find out more about that. But Michael got David and John. John is great. David, they're both amazing musicians. And we also, because we had been working with Paul Krybick and Bruce Lett, we invited them in on some songs. So we split up the trios. So we had 2 trios basically going for this CD, which I thought, I can't believe my luck here. These are wonderful musicians. And we also had Tony Guerrero, who was the engineer. He helped us with the engineering. Tony's an amazing guy and an amazing musician. And then we did some work with Dave. Oh my God, his name is slipping. He's going to kill me. Dave Moody. Dave Moody was on a couple of the songs with Tony. At any rate, we worked on this CD. Again, Michael did the arrangements, and we had one of his originals on there as well that we worked for, and we got some lyrics to. That was an interesting story too, because this original tune, Then Another Turns, which is the title of the title track, Then Another Turns was his song, and we had just met a new friend, Bill Montimer, who wrote lyrics to this song. And Bill passed away before he heard the final cut. But it came out well, and that was one of the reasons why we dedicated the CD to Bill. And it was a relationship that they were just starting, because Michael had been looking for someone to help him with putting lyrics to a lot of his compositions. And unfortunately, Bill passed away. But while he was here, he was just getting back into really writing music. Great, talented guy. So that was our CD, and we put it together. We had a CD release at Campus Jacks, which was phenomenal. It was a great night. We had so many people there, and Bubba Jackson was there as the MC from K-Jazz. It was truly wonderful, one of the best nights of my life. And the CD is doing okay. We went through a promoter, and we know it's getting airplay. So that's all you can ask for nowadays. And nowadays, it's really important for us to keep our music out there. At first, I felt stunned when we walked into this pandemic. I was stunned. I was shocked. I thought, oh my God, there go my gigs. Of course, like a lot of us. Oh, wow. I had so many gigs lined up, and I felt like I was taking steps up, and we're going back here. Let me slow down. So now we have to rework it. And I feel like now we're depending on recorded music. That's what we have. That's mostly what we have, is the recorded music. There are very few live gigs, although there's a couple coming up that I have. But I'm so happy. And here's my first CD, by the way. This was my husband produced it. This is called Moments in Time. And by the way, I have to give you a copy.
Yeah, I'd love to
So
hear it.
that was, he produced the first one. And this was
I love this.
after
I mean,
years of working
it's
together.
straight ahead jazz. It's just,
Thank
but
you.
it's just every time I put it on, the musicianship is just on
Yeah.
incredible recording quality, and then uh, beautiful arrangements. And you 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 like to do some Stevie Wonder tunes
Yeah.
at your gigs as well, right? What is
Yes,
your
I love
relationship to that music?
just that we love it. And Michael and I started performing most of the songs we had been working on them for a
Mm.
while. The only one that we hadn't been working on was I'll Be Seeing You. That was a last minute
Mhm.
plug-in.
Mhm.
But Stevie Wonder, we loved it. And Michael is mostly classical and jazz, straight ahead jazz.
Mhm.
So there are a few pop tunes that he was familiar with at the time, and it was Overjoyed. And one day he just said to me, "Do you know All in Love is Fair?" And I
Oh,
said,
it's
"Oh my
such a
God,
powerful
I
song. I
love
mean, your
that song."
version is incredible. It's just
Oh,
gorgeous. I mean, I
now you
ask
made my
everybody
day.
to go check it out.
Now you
But
made my day. Thank
oh
you.
yeah, it's
Thank you, Kareem.
in live or like recorded. And then the biggest surprise to me was like when I heard Misty. I was like, wow, that
Yeah, we
was
don't do
great.
the old fashioned
Yeah.
look at me. I mean, I love Sarah Vaughan, and the way she did it was like the pinnacle for me. But we
Oh, this
swung
was
it,
great.
and you know who I heard swing it? Now it was swung
Hmm.
years ago, with an organ, and oh my God, my husband's going to kill me. I can't remember who it was that put that on, but he was telling me about it.
Hmm.
So it was really
Oh, it came out.
him. He goes, yeah, yeah, do it swing, do it swing. And then I
Yeah.
heard Janice Siegel on the radio one day. I went, holy crap, this is fantastic. And I was
Yeah.
just cruising away. Ba, 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 ba. And I love to swing. I
Yeah.
love swing music.
This brings me sort of to our main discussion of the reason for this particular type of discussion. Um, how do we approach learning tunes, right? As aspiring vocalists, or even I always remember many teachers in my life were always talking about the lyrics behind all of these melodies, right? These they mean something. There is a meaning attached to
Right.
it. Uh, Even in the any tune, let's pick any tune. How would you approach learning it?
Well, what's the most helpful to me is hearing somebody perform it.
Hmm.
And then I look to see who else has performed it. And it's amazing how many different varieties of a song that you can
Hmm.
hear. So when I first hear it, I listen to the lyrics. And if it fits me, it catches my ear. If it really catches me, then I'll listen to it and I might say, oh, that sounds pretty good. If I feel it, it's all a feeling for me. And I don't know if that's necessarily good, but that's the way that's the way that I do things, because there are people who will always say, oh, can you do this song? Or do you know this song? And if I know it, I'll listen to it. And
Hmm.
if it doesn't grab me, if it doesn't have a meaning for me, it's hard for me to take it on. I mean, I can do it, sure, but I just believe in the words. I believe in the lyrics. So I look at the lyrics and see if it suits me.
That's
And
interesting because as an instrumentalist, as a bass player, I have to admit that, like for me, the first thing is like melody, right? That's what we hear, that's what we play. And I always try to, not always successfully, dig deeper and try to understand. Like, I've even recently started just to sing them. Like,
There
let's
you
just
go.
learn it. Let's learn it
There you go.
with the text, the lyrics.
Yeah.
Did you have any moments that were uh, surprises that you found in the lyrics when approaching it from that perspective?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. And I go back to that original that I did on the CD, Then and Other Turns. I was scared to death to do that song. Nobody had ever sung it, so this is, oh God, this is virgin territory here. What is Michael going to like the way I sing his song? He's very particular as a musician. He likes songs the way that they are written, and he's taught me some things about trying to stick with the melody more. I'm a jazz vocalist. I'll go all over the place and then come back to the original melody, and that's kind of what we do. But if you're really sticking to the melody, so with that tune, I latched onto the lyrics and I could relate. The lyrics were relatable to me as I read them. And I'll never forget going through the song for the first time with Bill and Michael at the piano. And Bill was going through and he said, "Here, try to sing it." And I was scared to death. Like, okay, I think I know the melody. So I, yeah, but as I worked on the melody and the lyrics together, suddenly I'm, oh, I can relate to this song. And Michael and I talked about this too. What does it mean to you? When he wrote it as an instrumental. He often says, when I'm playing, I don't really think of many things. I just play it. But when you watch him, he is so into what he's playing. I think there's got to be something in your head there. But for me, I latch onto the lyrics and then my mind goes to the scenario, whatever that scenario is. And Then and Other Turns for me is like someone who had love for someone else or something else, and they weren't able to express that. And it's a very heart-wrenching feeling. So when I'm expressing it, when I'm trying to learn that melody, so it takes me a while. I have to learn the melody first, exactly how it is. And then I can start to feel what the lyrics are. It takes a while for me to feel those lyrics. And then I have to keep singing it and singing it and singing it. And the best time that I learn is while I'm working, not practicing, but while I'm working and singing it. And sometimes it just comes to me, oh, that's kind of what that means, isn't it? And then sometimes I'm lucky with songs. All in Love is Fair. I was so shocked that Michael asked if I liked that tune. And I said, oh my God, yeah, I've always liked it since before I started singing The Way We Were. It was in the movie, The Way We Were. Mm-hmm. And I went on a date with that movie. And I was more interested in the music than I was with the date. Of course, I hope he can't hear that. That was over 40 years ago. But I can relate to that song because at the time there was a guy in my life and he just didn't treat me very well. But oh man, I like you more than you like me. So that song is very relatable to me. So I do best with songs that are relatable. And that's one thing my husband learned too early on. And he picked great tunes for me to work out. Because he would say, okay, learn this tune. What about this tune? Lena Horne in her one-woman show did From This Moment On. That was that was the first song on my first CD, From This Moment On. And for me, that was, well, this is it. I'm here. I'm doing music from this moment on. So for me, the best way is just to relate to it personally. So I try to wrap a story around it, whatever the lyrics are.
That's such an amazing process that you've described, and notwithstanding the fact that as throughout the conversation, as you're referring to these, movies, shows that were present
Yeah.
on the air, and that you hear that tune, then you go and work on it. Because I wonder, like in our combo, when we talk about tunes, we talk about harmony, we talk about melody. Here's
Right.
the meter, here's the tempo. Very rarely we open a piece of paper with lyrics and say, "All right, let's talk about."
What does it mean?
Yeah.
What does it all mean?
And it's just like a different dimension, though. Like.
Yeah.
Although I have to say that to me, always like like Billie Holiday's "Good Morning Heartache," that tune. I mean, just those words.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh! Like,
Yeah.
oh man, so
Yeah.
deep. And so, but that's a great tool that I think we will try to focus on more, just to give this a different dimension to.
Oh,
What people
right.
are trying to reproduce, because my whole point in our classes, for instance, is because if you look at the changes, from tune to tune, they can even be like indiscernible. What is the tune behind it?
Yeah.
And I think that missing point, aside from the melody,
Right.
is that story that you talked about.
What is it about? What is it about? And I'll tell you what's interesting is another student of mine, Dan Dunshee. He's a saxophone player. I don't know if you know Dan, but he wanted to sing. He's just out there gigging and he plays the saxophone. And he said, I want to learn how to sing better, because he'll do almost a one-man show sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his background track and he's got a saxophone and he'll sing along. So he's singing tunes, Frank Sinatra tunes, and he picked some great tunes to sing, some classic standards. So for us, it was interesting for me to see how he works as a musician and how I work as a vocalist. So he has an amazing ability. Of course, he's a saxophone player. His breath, he can breathe in and breathe. He can have enough air for the whole song because he's so practiced with his saxophone. I said,
Mm-hmm.
You've got a great armature. I said, this is your armature for your voice too.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to teach him how to connect the diaphragm and singing from the
Mm-hmm.
gut, exactly what he uses for his breath, instead of singing from his throat, because that's what he kept doing. He kept singing up here, fly me to the moon. And I was helping him to connect, but he helped me understand how a musician thinks and what they're producing. But I think he learned a better connection between the music, the song, the lyric, the meaning of the song, and what he plays on the saxophone. So when he is playing, he's, like you said, it's another dimension. It's a connection too. And when that connection is right with the musicians and the vocalist, I can't ask for anything better. We're all up there together when we're performing, and wow.
By the way, can you hear me? Some people are saying they've
Can't hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Some people had some issues with audio.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I wanted to still no sound. Okay. Well, I think it's temporary, but it'll show up on the recording. I wanted to sort of leave our audience and hopefully aspiring students who will come back to this video eventually with some tools, right? Because I think as educators, we are here to give people tools that they can
Right.
work with. And so let's say you are aspiring student, right? You
Mhm.
feel the urge, you found the classes, you have a vocalist, vocal coach. What are some of the things you should be focusing right now, like in the, while we are in quarantine, and
Right.
what would be some of advices that you can share with them?
I would say, first of all, that being in quarantine or partial quarantine
Mhm.
is actually not a bad way to go when you're learning music. And I think a lot of us have had much success through Zoom, through Facebook, through other forms, because you have an opportunity to woodshed in your own home, woodshed to practice.
Mhm.
You have an opportunity to pull up a few videos on YouTube of exercises, vocal exercises. And that's typically what I use in a lot of my lessons. I'll say, all right, here's a vocal exercise, and let's go through it together. I'll show you the proper way to do it. And you can take this home and use this at home and do it on your own. So, electronically speaking, we have a lot of advantages that we can use at our fingertips. YouTube is a great advantage, and um, for for those of you who want to learn how to sing, pick out one or two songs. Start with one or two songs. Learn the songs. You can learn them from whoever your favorite artist is, or you can learn them from sheet music if you read sheet music. You can also learn them from musicians if you know of other musicians as you're learning. Maybe you play an instrument, maybe you play piano. One of your students plays the piano at the same time. Sasha, she plays piano at the
Sana.
same time. Sana, sorry. Oh, she's going to hate me for that. But she plays piano at the same time in the lesson. And I was blown away by this child. She's only 8.
Yes.
And she was singing. And when she told me what she wanted to sing, standards, My Funny Valentine, I almost fell off of my chair. I said, you what? And you're going to sing it as I'm giving you I said, okay, let's try this. Well, she's an amazing example, but she picks songs that she likes. And that's what you have to do. Focus on those songs and focus on vocal exercises. Find some good vocal exercises on YouTube that will take you from A to Z, and keep working those exercises, because you're doing this. I always say you're building that muscle, you're building that vocal strength. And when we come out of this and you're ready to perform live, you will be ready. You will have your music. You'll have everything you need. When you're ready to perform by video, you'll be ready. That's part of what we're working on here. My husband has a backyard sessions that he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's just an hour of music, because the guys missed their gig and they had a weekly gig together. And he's just trying to keep that music happening.
That's a great idea.
We could still do this, but now and then. So I would say take advantage of what we have in front of us. And the people. I would love someone to call me and say, hey, how can I get through this? Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any recommendations? I love doing that. I love it. If people want to email me, send me an email question. I don't mind that at all. That information is on my website. So I love sharing that.
And also I have to, for me, the big takeaway is I often don't think about this is the stories behind this.
Yes.
So that's a great reminder for maybe instrumentalists to sort of go back to the idea behind the music. And
absolutely. The thing that one of the things I've always loved about my husband's playing, plays guitar, is the feel. Nobody could put a feel on what he played. And I've always told him that. And to me, that's what puts the music across, is the feeling. And, you know, I might even ask him, what are you feeling? Well, you could just tell he's just feeling every note that he's playing, or just try to put himself into the music. So even if he doesn't understand the lyrics, but I'm always amazed at the lyrics he does know. He does know a lot of lyrics to the songs, and I think that actually helps him, now that you mention that. But it's a great thing for instrumentalists. It's a great thing for vocalists to just get into the lyrics and try to visualize. There's got to be something in your life that reminds you that you can grasp onto and feel that tune and talk to me. It's a conversation. When I'm singing to you, I'm singing to you. I'm having a conversation with you.
That's thank you so much for reminding us of that. And I mean, it's such an important lesson. I can't thank you enough, because thank you. It's such a great charge.
You're making me feel good. Thank you.
No, I mean, this is a great conversation. And last but not the least, before we leave, I mean, I know it's some people are still concerned to go out and check out live music, but
very careful.
You've been performing few gigs here and there, right?
Just a few. I worked in San Clemente. There was a special series down there, and I might do that again in November. But coming up, I'm excited to be going to Campus Jacks on November 12th.
Oh, nice.
I'll be there. That's a Thursday evening. Now, the wonderful thing you should know about Campus Jacks is that they're doing a fantastic job at social distancing and trying to keep everybody safe. The tables are spread far apart. I feel so comfortable there. That was my first thought when I went there the first time, just to listen. My whole body went, oh, this is much better. Because I get nervous about going places, and, you know, are they keeping everything clean? Are they keeping people distant? And their practices, I would say, are a model for the community. And they're just continuing that. And I can't wait to get there. And I've had a couple of gigs there already, but we're going back on November 12th. I'm going to have the guys. I'm going to have my husband there, George. Michael's going to be there. Michael Soche, who's a great bassist, he's going to be there. John Ferraro and Edmund Velasco. I'm so excited. So I have a saxophone player, and we're gonna do some great things.
And it's going to be streamed, right?
It is going to be live streamed. So if you don't feel comfortable coming out, you can always check into the live stream. And one other thing I want to mention, Campus Jacks is, they're such a great organization. They do some work for the community too, with feeding the community, programs to feed the community. They're a fantastic organization. But they also are doing productions. And in December, I'm actually doing a benefit concert for Creative Identity, my husband's program. And that's going to be Sunday, December 6th. So I did want to put that out there. And it will be beneficiary to his program, but we'll still have the jazz. And of course, that kicks off the Christmas season. So that'll be my second annual Christmas show, holiday show, Sleigh Bell Swing, I call it. And I'm going to have a couple of his clients come and perform too. So I'm very excited about that. And
that's very important. And I'll make sure to post this out as soon as we get any links from you, so that people who check out our page can also check that out.
Thank you. I love your program. I love what you're doing for the community. And you've got some great musicians that are working with you. I got to come to one of your improv
I
classes.
was gonna say, yeah, it's been yeah, it's been very scary at first, and then we took the precautions, and people are kind of slowly warming up to the idea that it can be done safely.
Ken,
And I mean, Zoom lessons are great, but you know, when you have like 5 guys and we're so lucky we have the whole gym to ourselves, so there's a lot of
I saw
space.
the
Yeah,
video. It was
there's a
fantastic.
lot of space, and I mean, yeah, learning as a group, that's a great gift. I can't thank you enough, and everybody, I hope that they can check out your website for
I
anything
hope so
upcoming.
too. And I invite students. I want
Yeah.
students. I want. I'm here. You know, I'm here. Take advantage of me.
That's great.
Thank you so
And
much. Thank you
it's
so
my
much.
pleasure. And I hope to talk to you soon. Have a
Okay.
wonderful day. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Take care.
Gary.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.